Hey everybody, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. Before we jump in though, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help the show. All right, so today, get ready, because we're going to tackle a topic that I know is near and dear to a lot of American hearts. The Army-Navy football game.
Ooh, yeah.
Now, some of you out there listening might be saying, wait a minute, why are we dedicating a whole deep dive to just one game? But trust me, folks, this is a whole lot more than just your average college football matchup.
You're telling me.
And to help us break it all down, we got some great sources with us today. We've got a CBS Sports article that really digs into this year's big game. And we even pulled the Wikipedia article for this one, too, to get into some of that history.
Yeah, the history's fascinating.
Oh, it goes deep. So for all of you listening who might not be, diehard football fanatics, what is it about this game, the Army-Navy game, that really sets it apart from the rest?
I think that CBS Sports article actually sums it up perfectly.
Okay, how so?
They said the players are willing to give their life for all those watching. And that quote right there, that just perfectly highlights how unique this game really is.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, they're athletes, but they're also future military leaders.
Right.
They understand what service and sacrifice truly means.
Yeah, that's a powerful statement for sure.
It is.
I mean, it puts things into perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're carrying the weight of history and the future of the nation on their shoulders when they're playing this game.
Exactly. And that sense of duty, man, you can just feel it.
Yeah.
Like on the field and even off the field.
Mm-hmm.
There's this level of respect and camaraderie between them that you just don't see anywhere else, even with this crazy rivalry.
Well, and speaking of that rivalry, there's one tradition that I've always found so interesting.
Yeah.
The singing second. Have you heard of that?
Oh, of course.
Could you explain that to our listeners who maybe haven't?
Yeah, so at the end of the game, it doesn't matter who wins or loses. Both teams line up.
Okay.
And they face the losing team's students and their alma mater plays. And then, get this, they switch and do the same thing for the winning team.
So even in the face of defeat, they're still showing that respect for their rival.
Yeah.
That's so powerful.
It is. It really speaks to their character. They understand that at the end of the day, they're all on the same team.
Right.
Fighting for the same cause.
It's a powerful reminder that there's something bigger at play here than just a game.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, speaking of, something bigger than just a game, this year marks the 125th edition of this game.
125.
I mean, that's incredible.
That is insane. It is one of the oldest rivalries in college football.
I mean, going all the way back to 1890.
Yeah, according to Wikipedia.
1890.
I know.
It's mind-blowing how much history is packed into this rivalry.
It really is. You know what's crazy, too?
What?
Even back then, they were focused on player safety.
What do you mean?
You might be surprised to know that the first ever football helmet
Oh, wow.
was worn in the 1893 Army-Navy game. Yeah. So this Navy midshipman, his name was Joseph Mason Reeves.
Okay.
A doctor had warned him about potential brain damage
Oh, no.
if he kept playing without head protection. Right. So he actually had a shoemaker in Annapolis make a leather helmet for him.
Wow.
Imagine that long ago, they were already thinking ahead like that.
So we have this rich history. We have these incredible athletes playing. But what about the game itself? What's at stake this year?
Well, aside from bragging rights, which, let's be honest, are pretty huge,
Yeah.
the Commander-in-Chief's trophy is on the line.
Oh, right. I remember reading about that.
So that's a trophy that's awarded to the winner of the annual round robin, between Army, Navy, and Air Force.
Okay, so how does that work?
So each team plays each other once, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whoever wins 2 out of 3 games takes home the trophy.
Gotcha.
But get this.
Yeah.
Both Army and Navy already beat Air Force this year.
Oh, wow. So this is it.
Whoever wins this game wins the whole thing.
No way. So it's a winner-take-all situation.
Winner take all, baby.
Wow. That's crazy. You said that hasn't happened since 2017.
Not since 2017.
Okay, so we've got this historic rivalry. We've got the weight of tradition and a major trophy on the line. You can really feel the excitement building.
Oh, yeah.
But before we start talking predictions, I have to ask about Army's quarterback, Bryson Daly.
Oh, he's good.
I mean, the guy has been putting up some crazy numbers this season.
He has, hasn't he? That CBS Sports article said he has over 1,480 rushing yards, almost 900 passing yards.
Wow.
And 37 touchdowns.
That's wild.
I know, it ties him for the most rushing touchdowns in the country.
And wait, he's a legitimate Heisman Trophy candidate.
Yeah, Craig's right.
You don't see that every day.
No, not at all.
So with a player like that leading the charge for Army, how do you think that's going to, impact their game plan against Navy?
I mean, his dual threat ability, he can run and he can pass.
Right,
Makes their offense so dynamic and unpredictable, you can't key in on one thing.
right.
So it'll be interesting to see what Navy's defense does to try to contain him.
It sounds like he's definitely going to be the key player to watch in this one. But now I have to ask the big question that's on everyone's mind.
Oh, boy.
Who do you think is going to win?
It's tough, Looking at the expert picks in that CBS Sports article, most people are saying Army this year.
I I can see why. They've had a heck of a season.
Yeah.
They just clinched the American Athletic Conference title. They've got a Heisman caliber quarterback.
Right.
But can you really count Navy out in this game?
Never count Navy out. Never.
They've pulled off upsets in the past.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you think?
Plus, we got to consider that under trend.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that before. What does that mean, again, for our listeners who aren't as familiar with, the sports betting world?
Yeah, so in sports betting, the under is the total number of points both teams score.
Okay.
So if you bet the under, you're betting that the combined score is going to be lower than whatever number the odds maker set.
Okay. So why has the under been such a consistent bet for this game?
Well, these games are typically low scoring. Both teams run option offenses, which focus a lot on running the ball and controlling the clock.
Right, right.
And that usually leads to fewer chances to score.
So it's going to be a clash of styles, a battle of attrition?
Exactly. It's a really different kind of football game than a lot of people are used to.
I'm starting to see why they call this game a beautiful spectacle.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's so much strategy and tension in this one.
Oh, for sure.
There's so much more to unpack here. So let's take a quick break, and we'll come right back to dive even deeper into the heart of this rivalry. Thinking about Bryson Daly and how much of an impact he can have on a game, it reminded me of that story we were talking about before.
Which one?
With Joseph Mason Reeves, that Navy midshipman who wore the first football helmet way back when.
Oh, yeah.
It's just amazing to think about how, even in 1893, they were already thinking about player safety like that.
It really is. It kind of shows how both academies, even all those years ago, really put their players' well-being first.
Right. And it makes you think about all the challenges these guys face, not just on the field, but in their future careers, too.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
I mean, they're training for a job where every decision could have life or death consequences.
That's true. The mental toughness they build playing football is definitely going to help them when they're out in the field.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about teamwork, leadership, performing under pressure. Those are things you need no matter what.
Yeah, and those are the same values they'll be upholding when they're serving our country.
Exactly. It's like the game itself is a tiny version of what their military service is going to be like.
Right, and that brings us back to that idea of service and sacrifice we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, you really have to respect that these young men and women are putting their lives on the line for us.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to even grasp that level of commitment.
Yeah. I've always wondered what it's actually like to be AT, the Army-Navy game.
Oh, yeah.
The article we talked about before, the one from CBS Sports, it said it's one of the most anticipated rivalry showdowns in all of sports.
Oh, it is.
What's the atmosphere like? I mean, can you describe it for our listeners?
Oh, it's electric. There's so much energy. You've got the crowd going wild, the bands are playing, and the colors. Oh, man, the colors everywhere for both academies. It's an amazing thing to see.
I can imagine. And then you have the players themselves, these future leaders,
Mm-hmm.
getting ready to give it their all.
It really gets to you.
What kind of emotions are running high there?
I mean, you've got excitement, anticipation, and this overwhelming sense of pride. And I'm not kidding. You'll see grown men and women, some of them veterans even, with tears in their eyes. It's crazy.
Really?
It really makes you think about the sacrifices that have been made, the things we value as a country,
Wow. It sounds like the game itself is about so much more than just what happens on the field.
Oh, yeah, it goes beyond sports. It's a celebration of our military and a testament to how strong people can be.
I love that. It's a really powerful message that we all need to hear, especially today.
Especially today.
I mean, in a world with so much division and uncertainty,
Yeah.
the Army-Navy game reminds us that we're all on the same team at the end of the day.
That's right. We're all Americans.
We're all Americans, and we're all in this together.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked a lot about the history of this game, the traditions, the emotional impact it has, but let's get down to it.
All right.
What are your predictions? Who's going to win today?
Like I said before, most experts are leaning towards Army.
Yeah.
And I can see why. I mean, they've had an incredible season so far.
Right.
They're playing at home. They've got Bryson Daly.
He's a total game changer.
You can never count Navy out.
Never. I mean, they've pulled off some pretty big upsets before.
Oh, yeah.
They always seem to rise up for this rivalry.
Always.
But you did say earlier that the under-R has historically been a pretty safe bet for this game.
Right, which is interesting considering how strong Army is this year.
So are you saying that it might not be a high-scoring game after all?
That's what history's telling us, yeah. They tend to be really defensive. Both teams focus on running the ball, playing smart.
So it's going to be a real nail-biter then.
Yeah, a clash of styles.
A test of wills.
Exactly, but that's the best part about sports. You never really know what's going to happen.
You're right about that. The unpredictability is what keeps it exciting.
For sure.
This deep dive has given me a whole new appreciation for the Army-Navy game.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I mean, the history, the rivalry, how much it means to the players and the fans. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, it really is a one-of-a-kind event.
But before we wrap up, there's one more thing I wanted to touch on.
Okay.
We've talked about what it means to the players, to the fans. But what about you? I mean, what does this rivalry mean to you personally?
That's a good question. I think for me, the Army-Navy game represents the best of America. It's a showcase of all this talent, determination, sportsmanship. But more than that, it reminds us about the things that unite us as a country. It reminds us that even though we might disagree on some things, we're all Americans, and we all want what's best for our country.
That's a beautiful way to put it. I think a lot of our listeners will agree with that.
I hope so, because at the end of the day, the Army-Navy game is more than just a game. It's a celebration of what we have in common, our values, our belief in the American spirit.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into this incredible rivalry.
Yeah, it's been awesome talking about this with you.
Likewise, and a big thank you to all our listeners out there for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
We hope you learned a thing or two about the Army-Navy game and all the amazing young people who make it so special.
And like always, we encourage you to keep digging into this on your own. There's so much to discover.
Absolutely. And hey, don't forget to like and subscribe to The Deep Dive for more deep dives just like this one.
See you next time.
We're back for one last time to finish up our Army-Navy deep dive.
Yeah.
And, I gotta say, this has been a blast.
I agree. This game's got it all.
It really does.
History, rivalry, heart, you name it.
You know what? While we're wrapping things up, I wanted to go back to that quote we talked about earlier, the one from the CBS Sports article.
Oh, okay.
Remember? Where it said, the players are willing to give their life for all those watching.
Oh, yeah. That was a powerful one.
It really was. I mean, what do you think that says about the kind of commitment these guys have? Not just, on the field, but in their lives, too.
Man, it says a lot. They're not messing around out there.
Right.
It's not just a game for them. They're preparing for a life of service, a life where they might have to make, the ultimate sacrifice. And that kind of dedication, that selflessness, it's pretty inspiring, if you ask me.
It really is. And I think it's something that we, as a society, don't always, appreciate enough.
True.
These athletes remind us that there are still people out there who are willing to put it all on the line for something bigger than themselves.
You got that right. They embody what it means to be American.
Yeah.
Courage, integrity, duty, the whole 9 yards.
And I think that's what makes this game so special. It's not just about sports.
Right.
It's about celebrating those values, celebrating the human spirit, reminding ourselves about what really matters,
Yeah, well said. It's way more than just a game. It connects with us on a deeper level.
Man, I'm already looking forward to next year's game.
Me too. Everyone should see this game live at least once.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive.
Right.
But before we go, a huge thank you to all our listeners out there for joining us on this journey.
Big thanks to everyone tuning in.
We hope you've come away with a new appreciation for the Army-Navy game and all the amazing people who make it what it is.
And hey, don't forget to do your own digging. There's a ton more to learn about this rivalry.
Absolutely. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to The Deep Dive for more fascinating deep dives just like this one.
We'll catch y'all next time.